Good morning, everybody. It's Miss Sumner here this morning reading over your literacy lesson. Now, today we're going to be learning about setting descriptions. We learnt a little bit about them last week. Can you remember what a setting description is? Have a little think about what we did last week. Now, a setting description is when the author of a story talks about a place. It gives us a good idea of what that place looks like, what it smells like, what it sounds like, and maybe even what it feels like. Can you remember what happened in our story, Lost and Found? I'm going to put on the video now so that you can recap and try and remember what happened.
Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers. Once there was a boy, and one day he found a penguin at his door. The boy didn't know where it had come from, but it began to follow him everywhere. The penguin looked sad, and the boy thought it must be lost. So the boy decided to help the penguin find its way home. He checked in the Lost and Found office, but no one was missing a penguin. He asked some birds if they knew where the penguin came from, but they ignored him. Some birds are like that. The boy asked his duck, but the duck floated away. He didn't know. That night, the boy couldn't sleep for disappointment. He wanted to help the penguin, but he didn't know how. The next morning, he discovered that penguins came from the South Pole. But how could he get there? He ran down to the harbor and asked a big ship to take them to the South Pole. But his voice was much too small to be heard over the ship's horn. So together, he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. The boy took his rowboat out of the cupboard and they tested it for size and strength. They packed everything they would need, and together they pushed the rowboat out to sea. They rowed south for many days and nights, with the boy telling stories all the way. The penguin listened to everything that the boy said. They floated through good weather and bad, when the waves were as big as mountains, until they came to the South Pole. The boy was delighted, but the penguin said nothing. Suddenly, it looked sad again as the boy helped it out of the boat. The boy said goodbye and floated away, but as he looked back, the penguin looked sadder than ever.
Okay, now that we've recapped on what happened in our story, we're going to be writing a setting description of the place that the boy and the penguin visited. Can you remember what that place was? What the name of it was? Have a little think. You can pause the video here if you like to have a little think about it. Okay. In the story, it was the South Pole, just like we learned about in our geography lesson. The place was called Antarctica. So here is a photograph of what Antarctica looks like. Now it looks a little bit different, a little bit more detailed than in the Lost and Found story, because it's a photograph instead of a drawing. so it's usually more accurate. It's a bit more real. Think about what you can see and see if you can think of any adjectives to describe the picture. Now remember, an adjective is a describing word. I'm going to think of one. I think I'm going to describe the sea as turquoise. You can pause the video here and think of some adjectives to describe the picture. Okay, once you've thought of some adjectives, can you see if you can write some of them down, maybe in a mind map? And once you've thought of lots of different adjectives to describe the photograph of Antarctica, maybe you could write some sentences about it. So, for example, a sentence that I might write is, the sea felt icy cold in Antarctica. But you could think of your own sentence using some of the adjectives that you thought of a minute ago. Once you've thought of your sentences and written them down, see if you can submit them to Google Classroom, because I would love to see what you've come up with. Okay, so that's all for today. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of your amazing sentences. If you're really super amazing, you might write a sentence with 2 adjectives in, because that's called a 2A sentence. Okay, see you later. Bye.